I knew this barbecue was going to be rough the moment we pulled into her parents' driveway. My wife had been cold all week, and I had a feeling today was going to be the stage for whatever drama she'd been planning. The backyard was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole crew. Her dad stood at the grill while I grabbed a beer and tried to stay out of the way. That lasted maybe 15 minutes. Oh, look, everyone. My husband finally decided to join us. She announced loud enough for half the yard to hear. Must have been hard to tear yourself away from whatever it is you do all day. People glanced over. Some laughed nervously. I sipped my beer and stayed quiet. What's that supposed to mean? Her mom asked. He's just so busy with his little job. Can barely afford to take me anywhere nice anymore. She was playing to the crowd now. Remember when we used to go on actual vacations? Now it's just excuses about money. I worked as an electrician, made around $23 an hour. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. Except our joint account was always empty by month's end. I'd noticed that 6 months ago, maybe if someone didn't blow $300 at Target every other day, we'd have vacation money, I said, keeping it light. Her face flushed. Are you seriously going to embarrass me in front of my family? I'm not the one doing the embarrassing. That's when her cousin walked over. Piper, tall, confident, the kind who didn't tolerate nonsense. You know what, Ariana? Piper said, folding her arms. If you hate him so much, just divorce him already. Stop torturing the poor guy. The yard went silent. Ariana's mouth dropped open. She wasn't expecting that from her own family. Seriously, Piper continued. If you're done with him, let someone else have a shot. I'll gladly take him myself. You've obviously got multiple lovers anyway, right? Isn't that what you told me last month? Dead silence. Ariana went pale. Piper, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? You told me. About the guy from your gym and that other one from work. Don't play innocent now. Ariana turned to me, panicked. Don't listen to her. She's lying. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a folded envelope, and set it on the table. What's that? She asked, voice shaking. Divorce papers already filed. You'll be served tomorrow, but I figured I'd give you a heads up. The backyard exploded. Her mom gasped. Her dad dropped his spatula. Someone's kid started crying. Ariana grabbed the envelope and tore it open, hands trembling. You can't be serious. You can't do this. I can. And I did. I've known for 3 months, Ariana. I've seen the texts, the hotel receipts. I hired someone to confirm it. So, yeah, I'm serious. Piper smirked. Told you he had more backbone than you thought. Ariana looked around desperately for support, but her family just stared, waiting for her to explain. She couldn't. I want you out of the house tonight, she finally said, trying to sound authoritative. I laughed. It's my name on the lease. You're the one who needs a new place. I already talked to the landlord. Her face twisted with fury. You planned this. Guilty. Enjoy the rest of the barbecue. I'm sure your family has questions. I walked out with my head high, Piper's laughter echoing behind me. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Let me back up 3 months. That's when everything clicked into place. It started small. Ariana began hitting the gym 5 times a week instead of 2. New clothes appeared, expensive ones we supposedly couldn't afford. She kept her phone face down everywhere, grabbing it fast whenever it busted. One Tuesday, I got home early from a job. The house was empty, which was odd since she'd said she was working from home. Her laptop sat open on the kitchen table, still logged into her email. I won't pretend I'm proud of snooping, but I'm not going to act like I regret it either. Emails from someone named Oscar filled the screen. Lots of them. Plans to meet at hotels. Complaints about me, dreams of a life without me. I took screenshots and sent them to my personal email before closing the laptop. When she came home an hour later, hair wet from a shower that obviously hadn't happened here. She kissed my cheek, asked about my day, smiled that same smile I'd fallen for 7 years ago. I said fine, made dinner, acted normal. That night, I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Part of me wanted to blow up everything right then. But the smarter part told me to wait, to be sure, to have a plan. Next day, I called a guy I knew from work. His brother ran a private investigation service. We met at a diner during lunch. How much? I asked. Surveillance. 800 for 2 weeks. I'll document everything. Give you a full report with timestamps and photos. 800, half my personal savings. The account Ariana didn't know about. The one I'd opened 2 years back when money started vanishing from our joint account too fast. Do it. Those 2 weeks were hell. Working, coming home, eating dinner with her, pretending everything was fine. She had no clue I knew. No clue someone was following her. The investigator sent updates every few days. Her car outside a hotel Wednesday afternoon. Video of her and Oscar holding hands at a restaurant. Photos with a different guy outside some gym. The final report was 43 pages. Dates, times, locations, photos, everything documented. I printed 2 copies, put one in a safe deposit box, kept the other hidden in my truck. Then I filed for divorce myself, downloaded the forms from the county website, filled them out. Our situation was simple since we had no kids, and I had proof. The state considered adultery grounds for fault-based divorce, which gave me leverage. The lease was only in my name. We'd moved in 2 years ago, and she never added hers. I thought it was laziness then. Now I was grateful. I talked to the landlord, explained things. He understood. Said as long as rent got paid. He didn't care who lived there. Agreed to change locks if needed. Our joint account had $2,000. I transferred half to my personal account. Fair was fair, even if she didn't deserve it. Then came the waiting, picking the right moment. I could have served her at home, kept it private. But where was the justice in that? She'd spent months making me look like a failure to her family, spending our money on other men while complaining I didn't earn enough. She'd made our marriage a public show. The ending deserved the same stage. When she mentioned the family barbecue, I knew her parents, siblings, cousins, all the people she'd fed lies to. All the people who'd looked at me with pity because of her stories. They'd all see the truth at once. I filed Friday. Official service would happen Monday, but nothing stopped me from telling her first. I preferred it that way. Saturday night, I packed the papers in my jacket. Sunday morning, I dressed nice. Ariana asked why. Just felt like it. During the drive, she complained about everything. Traffic, her dad's cooking, how she'd rather be anywhere else. I just nodded. That envelope waiting in my pocket. And then we arrived. Papers hit the table. Her family stared. Piper grin. Sometimes patience beats anger every single time. The drive home from that barbecue should have felt like a victory lap. Instead, my phone started blowing up before I even hit the highway. First was Ariana's mom, then her dad, then her sister, then people I didn't even know were at the barbecue. 17 missed calls in the first 10 minutes. I ignored all of them. What I didn't ignore was the text from Piper 20 minutes later. Holy hell, you should see what's happening here. Ariana's having a complete meltdown. Her mom is crying. Her dad looks like he wants to punch something. This is better than any reality show I've ever watched. I replied, glad I could provide the entertainment. No, seriously. She's claiming you made everything up. That the hotel receipts are fake. That the investigator you hired was lying. Nobody's buying it, though. Her face said it all when I brought up the gym guy. I pulled into a gas station parking lot and called Piper. She answered on the first ring. Where are you? She asked, grabbing gas. What's happening now? Your wife, sorry, ex-wife-to-be just locked herself in the bathroom. My aunt is standing outside the door begging her to come out. Your father-in-law threw his beer against the fence. It exploded everywhere. And get this, Ariana's brother just said he always knew something was off about her. Raymond said that. Yep. Apparently, she's been borrowing money from him for months. Told him it was for bills you weren't paying. Now he's putting two and two together. That tracked. I've been wondering where some of her spending money came from. Listen, Piper continued, I know this probably sounds weird, but I meant what I said back there about you being better than she deserved. I've watched her treat you like garbage for years at these family things. She had a good man and threw it away for what? Some gym rat and whoever else. Appreciate that. I said, though maybe we should have this conversation when your entire family isn't imploding. She laughed. Fair point, but seriously, if you need anything, let me know. And I mean, actually, let me know. Not that polite thing people say and don't mean. We hung up and I sat there for a minute watching people pump gas and go about their Sunday like it was normal, like the world hadn't just shifted on its axis. My phone rang again. This time it was Ariana's dad. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. Hello, you got a lot of nerve, he started, voice shaking. Come to my house, embarrassing my daughter in front of everyone. Your daughter embarrassed herself. I just provided the evidence. Those could be fake. You could have made all that up. Why would I? What would I gain from lying? I'm the one who filed for divorce. I'm the one who's been paying for everything while she drains our accounts. Check with Raymond if you don't believe me. Ask him how much money she's borrowed. Silence on the other end. Look, I continued. I didn't want it to go down like this, but she's been treating me like I'm worthless for months. Making jokes at my expense. Acting like I'm some kind of burden, all while she's out there doing whatever she wants with whoever she wants. I'm done being the punching bag. She says you're controlling, that you track her phone. I actually laughed. I've never tracked her phone in my life. Didn't need to. She was sloppy. Left evidence everywhere. If anything, she wanted to get caught. More silence than quieter. The investigator really found all that. 43 pages worth. Hotels, restaurants, texts, photos, all time-stamped and documented. Your daughter isn't the person you think she is. He hung up without another word. The next call came from Ariana herself. I let it go to voicemail, then another, and another. 6 calls in 15 minutes. Each voicemail progressively more desperate. Please, we need to talk. This is insane. You can't just leave like that. My family hates me now. Are you happy? I made mistakes, but we can fix this. You're ruining my life. That last one made me delete all of them. Ruining her life. She'd done that herself. I drove home half expecting to find her car in the driveway. It wasn't there. Good. I went inside, locked the door, and finally let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. Relief, anger, sadness, freedom. It all hit at once. My phone buzzed one more time. Another text from Piper. She finally came out of the bathroom, tried to convince everyone you've been abusive. Her brother called her out, said, abuse victims don't spend $500 at Nordstrom, and brag about it on social media. She left, took an Uber. Nobody stopped her. I typed back, good. Then I turned off my phone, cracked open a beer, and sat in my own house, in my own space for the first time in months, feeling like I could actually breathe without someone. Judging every breath I took. Tomorrow would bring more drama, more calls, more attempts to twist the narrative. But tonight was mine. The next few days were a masterclass in desperation. Monday morning, I woke up to find Ariana sitting on the front porch. Just sitting there, still wearing the same clothes from the barbecue. Mascara streaked down her face. I opened the door. What are you doing here? I had nowhere else to go, she said, voice. Can we please just talk? No, you need to leave. This is my home, too. Actually, it's not. The lease is in my name. I talked to the landlord yesterday. He's changing the locks this afternoon. You've got until then to get your stuff. Her face crumpled. You can't do this. I already did. You've got 6 hours. I let her in under supervision, watched as she packed clothes, toiletries, whatever she could fit in 2 suitcases. She kept trying to start conversations, to explain, to bargain. I just stood there and said nothing. When she was done, she stood by the door with her bags. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem anymore. Maybe Oscar has a couch. She flinched. That's over. He doesn't want anything to do with me now. Funny how that works. She left. I changed the locks myself that afternoon. Saved the landlord the trouble. Cost me $40 at the hardware store. Best $40 I ever spent. Tuesday, she showed up at my job site. I was up on a ladder running wire through a ceiling when I heard her voice below. We need to talk, please. My foreman looked at me, then at her, then back at me. You good? Yeah. Give me a minute. I climbed down. Ariana, you can't be here. This is my workplace. You won't answer my calls. You won't see me. What am I supposed to do? Accept it. Move on. Sign the papers when they arrive. I'm not signing anything. I'll fight this. I'll tell the judge you're lying about everything. I pulled out my phone, opened the photos from the investigator. You want to do this here in front of my coworkers? Because I've got 43 pages of evidence that says you're full of it. She grabbed for the phone. I held it away. You're being cruel, she said. No, I'm being done. There's a difference. She left crying. My foreman came over. Ex-wife soon to be good riddance, man. Nobody needs that drama. Wednesday, her mom called. I answered because I figured it was time to deal with that side of things. She's staying with us, her mom said without preamble. She's devastated. Won't eat, won't sleep, just cries all day. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate. She's my daughter. She's falling apart. She should have thought about that before she spent 7 months cheating on me. Maybe longer. I honestly don't know. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting to pick up milk. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Over and over again, she says she still loves you. I almost laughed. She loves the stability I provided. The paycheck, the person she could blame when things went wrong. That's not the same as loving me. You're being heartless. I'm being honest and I'm done with this conversation. I hung up. Thursday, Ariana tried a different approach. She sent April, one of her friends, to talk to me. April showed up at my door around 8 at night. She sent you, didn't she? I asked. She did, but I wanted to come anyway. Look, I know what she did was wrong, but she's genuinely sorry. She wants to make it right. There's no making this right. It's over. She's willing to go to counseling, to do whatever it takes. I don't want counseling. I don't want whatever it takes. I want a divorce and to never think about her again. April shifted uncomfortably. She told me you'd say that. She also told me about the other guy. Guys, I didn't know. None of us knew. Yeah. Well, now you do. For what it's worth, we all think she's an idiot. You were good to her. Thanks. But that doesn't change anything. Friday afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Is this Ariana's husband? A man's voice. Who's asking? This is Oscar. I sat down. This was going to be interesting. Let me guess, I said. She told you I was abusive, controlling, made her life miserable. Silence. Yeah, that's what I thought. Here's the truth, Oscar. I worked. I paid bills. I tried to make her happy and she lied to both of us. So, if you're calling to threaten me or defend her honor, save it. She doesn't have any. I'm not calling to threaten you, he said quietly. I'm calling to apologize. She told me you two were separated, that you were just living together for financial reasons, that you were seeing other people, too. None of that was true. I know that now. I saw the divorce papers. She left them out at her parents' house when I went to talk to her. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have gotten involved if I'd known. Appreciate that, but you weren't the only one, so don't beat yourself up too much. He hung up after that. Saturday, Piper texted me. Ariana is telling everyone you cheated first. That she only did what she did because you drove her to it. Just thought you should know. I texted back. Let her talk. Anyone who believes her at this point isn't worth worrying about. Fair. By the way, how are you holding up? Better than I expected. Good. You deserve better than what she put you through. Thanks. That night, I sat in my living room eating takeout and watching a game. And it hit me how quiet everything was, how peaceful, no passive-aggressive comments, no having to defend myself, no walking on eggshells, just silence. And for the first time in years, silence felt like freedom. 2 weeks after the barbecue, I was having lunch at a diner near my job site when Ariana walked in with an entourage. Her mom, her sister, and April. They spotted me immediately and made a beeline for my booth. This was planned. Had to be. We need to talk, Ariana said, sliding into the seat across from me without asking. The others stood nearby, creating a wall of witnesses. I set down my burger. No. We don't. Yes, we do. You've been avoiding me for 2 weeks. That was intentional. Her mom stepped closer. Please, just hear her out. 5 minutes. I looked around the diner. People were starting to stare. Perfect. She wanted an audience. She'd get one. Fine. 5 minutes. Then you all leave and don't contact me again. Ariana took a breath. And I could see she'd rehearsed this. I made mistakes. Huge ones. I know that. But we had 7 years together. That has to count for something. I'm willing to do anything to fix this. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just please give me another chance. No, you're not even going to think about it. There's nothing to think about. You cheated multiple times with multiple people for months. That's not a mistake, Ariana. That's a pattern. I was confused. I felt neglected. I actually laughed. Neglected. I worked 45 hours a week and still came home and cooked dinner. I never forgot a birthday or anniversary. I supported every single thing you wanted to do. The only thing I neglected was noticing how much you didn't appreciate any of it. Her sister jumped in. People make mistakes. Marriage is about forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean staying with someone who disrespects you. It means letting go of the anger. And I have. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Ariana's eyes filled with tears. The performance was in full effect now. What about the good times? What about everything we built together? What did we build? I paid rent. I paid bills. You spent money and complained I didn't make enough. That's not building. That's me propping up a fantasy while you tore it down. That's not fair. Fair. You want to talk about fair? Let's talk about how you borrowed money from Raymond and told him I wasn't paying bills. Let's talk about how you told Oscar I was abusive. Let's talk about how you're now telling people I cheated first. Which part of that is fair? Her face went red. Her mom looked confused. You told Raymond what? Ariana ignored her. I never said you were abusive. Oscar called me. He told me everything you said. So did the gym guy. Actually, Mason, he reached out to apologize after he found out the truth. Seems you told him I'd agreed to an open marriage. That was creative. Her sister's mouth dropped open. Ariana, I was trying to protect myself, Ariana said weakly. From what? The consequences of your own actions. She reached across the table for my hand. I pulled it back. Please. I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. We can get past this. No, we can't because you don't love me, Ariana. You love the idea of not being the bad guy. You love not having to explain to people why your marriage fell apart. You love having someone to blame instead of looking in the mirror. That's not true. Then answer this. When was the last time you asked me how I was doing? How work was? If I needed anything? When was the last time you did anything that wasn't about you? Silence. Exactly. You can't even remember, can you? Her mom tried one more time. Marriage takes work from both people. Maybe you could have tried harder, too. I stood up, threw a 20 on the table for my meal. I tried for 7 years. I tried while she was out with other men. I tried while she spent money we didn't have. I tried while she made me feel worthless in front of your entire family. I'm done trying. I looked at Ariana. Signed the papers. Move on. Find someone else to support you while you figure out what you actually want. Because it was never me. Where are you going? She called out as I headed for the door. I stopped, turned back. Away from this, away from you, away from all the drama and lies and manipulation. I'm going to live my life without having to justify every breath I take. April spoke up then. She's staying with her parents. She has nothing. She has the same thing I had when she was out there destroying our marriage. A choice. She can figure it out like everyone else does. I walked out of that diner and got in my truck. Through the window, I could see them all huddled around the booth. Ariana crying, her mom gesturing wildly, her sister looking stunned. My phone buzzed. Text from Piper. Please tell me you're not at Mason's diner right now. How did you know? Ariana posted on social media that she was going to fight for her marriage and tagged the location. I had a feeling it was a trap. You okay? Better than okay. I'm free. Good. Because that woman needs help you can't provide. I drove back to the job site, finished the day's work, and went home. My home, my space, my peace. The divorce papers were being processed. Another month, and it would all be official. Just 30 more days of being tied to someone who'd never valued me in the first place. 30 days. I could handle that. After 7 years of handling everything else, 30 days felt like nothing. 6 weeks after the barbecue, I signed the final divorce papers in the county clerk's office. The whole thing took maybe 10 minutes. Sign here, initial there, date this line. Done. 7 years reduced to a stack of papers and a stamp. I walked out into the parking lot and just stood there for a minute, feeling the weight lift. It was official. I was single, free, no longer tied to someone who'd made me feel like I was never enough. My phone rang. Piper, is it done? She asked. Just signed. It's official. How do you feel? Relieved. Tired, but mostly relieved. Good. You deserve that. Listen, I wanted to give you an update about Ariana. I don't need updates on her. I know, but trust me, you'll want to hear this. I leaned against my truck. All right. What's going on? She's been a mess. Lost her job 2 weeks ago. Apparently, she was calling out constantly, showing up late, crying at her desk. They let her go. Oscar wants nothing to do with her. Mason blocked her number after she kept calling him drunk at 2 o'clock in the morning. She's still living with my aunt and uncle, but that's getting tense. My uncle told my dad she's not contributing anything. Just sitting around feeling sorry for herself. That's unfortunate, I said, and I meant it. Not in a sympathetic way, but in a factual way. It was unfortunate and entirely predictable. There's more. Raymond cut her off financially, told her he's not bankrolling her anymore and that she needs to get her life together. And get this, her friends from that social group she was always with, they've all distanced themselves. Turns out nobody wants to be associated with the girl who blew up her marriage for nothing. For nothing. That's what everyone's saying. She threw away a good man, a stable life. For what? 2 guys who dumped her the second things got complicated. The whole family sees it now. Even my aunt, who was defending her at first, admitted yesterday that you were right about everything. I didn't feel victorious hearing this. I didn't feel vindicated or satisfied. I just felt nothing like she was a chapter in a book I'd already closed. Thanks for letting me know, I said. But honestly, what she does now isn't my concern anymore. I know. I just thought you should know that karma is working overtime. We talked for a few more minutes about other things. She'd started dating someone new. I picked up some overtime at work. Normal stuff, life moving forward stuff. After we hung up, I drove to the bank and closed out the joint account. The remaining balance was $900. I split it evenly, had them cut a check for Ariana's half, and mail it to her parents' address. Fair was fair even now. That evening, I went to a hardware store and bought supplies to fix the deck in my backyard. It had been sagging for months, but I'd never had the energy to deal with it. Now I did. Now I had time. Now I had peace. I spent the whole weekend working on it. Replacing boards, reinforcing the frame, staining everything a dark walnut color. It was simple work, physical, satisfying in a way that had nothing to do with anyone else. Monday morning, I got a text from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. This is Ariana's mom. I wanted to apologize for everything. You were good to my daughter and she didn't appreciate it. I'm sorry for how things went at the diner and for not seeing the truth sooner. I hope you find happiness. I stared at that text for a long time. Then I wrote back. I appreciate that. I hope Ariana gets the help she needs. Take care. Short, polite, final. 2 weeks later, I was grabbing coffee before work when I ran into Raymond at the shop. We made eye contact. He walked over. Hey, he said awkwardly. Hey, I owe you an apology. I believed her when she said you weren't paying bills. I gave her almost $3,000 over the past year. I found out last week she was spending it on clothes and trips with those guys. I feel like an idiot. You were trying to help family. That's not being an idiot. Still, I should have questioned it. Should have talked to you. Water under the bridge now. He nodded, ordered his coffee, and left. I watched him go, thinking about how many people had believed her version of events without ever asking mine, but also thinking about how most of them had come around eventually. The truth had a way of surfacing, even when people tried to bury it. A month later, I got promoted at work. Not some massive jump, just lead electrician on bigger projects. Better pay, better hours, more responsibility. My boss said I'd earned it, that my work ethic stood out. I celebrated by buying a new grill and inviting a few guys from work over. We drank beer, cooked steaks, talked about nothing important. It was simple, easy, no drama, no tension, just people enjoying each other's company. That night, after everyone left, I sat on my newly fixed deck and looked up at the stars. Thought about where I'd been 6 months ago, stressed, anxious, feeling worthless, and where I was now. Content, stable, at peace. I thought about Ariana, too, briefly. Wondered if she'd figured out yet that the problem was never me. That the emptiness she felt wasn't because I didn't give enough, but because she didn't know what she wanted. Probably not. People like that rarely did. But that wasn't my problem anymore. My phone buzzed. Text from Piper. How's the deck coming along? Finished it last month. Looks good. I'm proud of you for handling all of this the way you did. For not letting her drag you down. Thanks. Means a lot. You going to start dating again eventually? No rush. I'm good where I am right now. Good answer. Let me know if you need anything. I set my phone down and finished my beer. The night was quiet, peaceful, mine. Somewhere out there, Ariana was dealing with the consequences of her choices, the burned bridges, the lost relationships, the realization that actions have prices. But that was her journey now, not mine. I'd already moved on, and I'd never looked back. This is where the story ends. How was today's story? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and where you're watching from. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories.